people can hold a quorum, you can hold your own meeting. As it should have been the last time we did this.
Where you going? Thank you, sir.
I'll be back.
Everybody did. Why don't you sit here for a little bit?
I'll sit here for a minute.
Yeah, sit here for a little bit.
Huh? I see. Merry Christmas to you too.
Everybody got somewhere good. Come on, sit down there.
Pull up a chair. Not like you won't be here.
Now we're talking about the animal ordinance.
There's a number of them in there. I can give you pretty much an
1:30 at
outline
night.
on them in about 10 minutes. And we have.
I got them right
We're gonna do these in particular order. We're gonna do these in particular order.
Well, yeah, they're kind of jumbled up. You can go by chapter
now.
pretty much.
It's up. I can't look.
I was gonna check the time.
That's not the one that's loaded. Yeah.
You weren't late, Pam.
I got a busted leg in this
Scored,
thing.
I'm sure. You only need quorums for certain things.
I don't know about y'all, but I learned.
I got a busted leg in this thing. It's that's why it came out, because it's too loose.
Actually, his first
Yeah,
grade.
I'm gonna have to
school there wasn't
maybe tape it in
kindergarten, I
place or
don't
something.
believe. I didn't go.
Oh, now you know you want to wait for John. He'll be here in a second.
Who's been lying to you, Mark?
Huh?
Who's been lying to you?
There he is.
I have an interesting talk with grandsons of, we got on Coffee Lane.
You what?
You know, what's that guy's name, owns Coffee Lane?
Larry Paxton.
I had an interesting talk with his grandson yesterday.
Really? Are they down here?
Well, he sells Sears. Tyler.
I didn't know that.
I mean, he was talking to him.
Because I thought he owned a place up in Missouri. I can't
Well,
remember.
but there's like 9 grandkids.
Well, no, I didn't know that.
Is the mayor here?
The mayor is here. He's trying to go, but we want him to sit here a second and,
Call it to order.
yeah.
Let me get some out of my box.
Hey, Mayor.
Yeah.
John's walking.
Did he? Good.
Chris?
You forgot?
No, I didn't forget. I just got the box time.
One section I left in my office.
Which one? You need a copy, Rick?
Number 3.
Hey. You just look at my box? Yeah, number 3.
Who needs one? I got something here. Which one you need?
Number 3.
General offenses.
This one?
That's general
This
offenses.
one you need?
Are you waiting to see Darlene next?
No, I ain't on you.
It almost,
Oh, okay.
it's almost
You
like
called me.
It's almost like we need a little music. Slow.
Christmas?
Some,
Need a little bit plainer back.
You, oh, okay,
Background
I'll
music.
call him in, okay.
You called me?
Is girls gonna take minutes or you want me to take minutes?
No, they're not gonna be here.
All right, with that said, with it not being a voting meeting, do we need to take minutes? You're gonna take
No,
minutes?
they're not taking
Recorder there,
minutes
we
because
got
she's
your no
recording, so
transcribe.
they can write the minutes
So
down.
we don't need to write the minutes?
No. That's why he's recording it. We're gonna call him in here
All right,
today. They can take the recording and do the minutes.
all right. Let me call the meeting to order at 5:39. 4:39. Roll call? Okay. Nobody's gonna write anything down. We're gonna do it off the recording. Chris, are you gonna write down anything? We call roll? All right.
I'll call President with Jordan, Councilman Jordan.
You wanna call names?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as on the agenda we're here to discuss the ordinances coming up, because the mayor's asked that we vote on the ordinances on the next meeting. We're gonna do a 2-hour limit of time, which was supposed to be 4:30 to 6:30, but still on at 6:30 hour. And we'll discuss, beginning with the number 1 page, section 1 here. Okay. I've already done, he said we got it without roll call. And this is gonna be just an open discussion about languaging.
My pages aren't numbered. What's number 1
This is
page?
Roman numeral 1.
John, can I make a brief statement?
Sure.
I've read over this, and I'm hoping that everybody else kind of read over this ordinance. I understand it's from some town way off somewhere that all of these ordinances were needed. And I noticed that, for instance, on their animal control, they had 11 pages. That's on chapter 40. And it actually gets into hiring an animal control officer. He has to make certain qualifications. He has to have a certain facility that is approved by the city council. He is paid by the city council. He rides herds. I think that there's a lot of. I think that most of these ordinances are not fitted to Coffee City. I think that ordinances are just that. They're ordinances, and they're created piecemeal on a needed basis. And the reason I'm saying this is because these things are real stringent. They are refusing to let the sale of fireworks, the discharge of fireworks. The dog pound blew me away, but there's a firearm ordinance in here with a 1,000-foot restriction, which is, what is that, like a fifth of a mile? There's people in this place that, in the city limits, that own numerous acres. That would disqualify them from that. I could see if somebody was target practicing in the backyard of Briarwood Bay. I don't, for Coffee City as a whole, I don't think these ordinances fit. I think that what Coffee City needs to do is just like we did with the G-Man. We created an ordinance that did just this. It protected us from somebody trying to abuse the system we set up. We set up a system for a $13 pickup on the garbage, and we knew that that may cause problems down the line. So we set an ordinance around that to protect the dumping. If someone became disgruntled and didn't want to, pay the garbage man to pick up his garbage, we had an ordinance that fit that particular situation that the city council voted on, and that ordinance was needed to keep that from happening. That's how ordinances are formed. You don't go out to Timbuktu and pick up their ordinances and try to make them be in compliance with a city of our size or the way our city's even laid out. Now, I do realize that Briarwood Bay did offer some extenuating circumstances, like, for instance, on firearms. I think that, and I've been through Briarwood Bay before, and I've been chased by a bunch of big old dogs over there. And I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't the homeowners association at Briarwood Bay have restrictions set in effect on loose dogs? And if not, maybe this is time to throw this in the trash can and then piecemeal our ordinances together to fit our city, such as, if they have a problem with that in Briarwood Bay, can't we say, okay, well, you need to keep, if your area is a 50-foot lot, you cannot have 3 bulldogs on the front porch without having them restrained in some way by a fence or a leash. Because when I let Foo out to go to the bathroom in the yard, I'm more worried about a fox eating her than it biting somebody, you understand? So we need to have ordinances fitted for this. Some of these ordinances are ridiculous. Listen to this one. I don't know if y'all read this. This is one of the general offenses in chapter 30, if y'all follow that. It says, creates by chemical means a noxious and unreasonable odor in a public place. Now, you know, I actually thought ever since 9/11 that this was talking about maybe throwing a canister in City Hall, you know, to poison or maim or kill somebody. This chemical here, after you read it, it's actually talking about, let me just say it like this. That you know this gas. It's called hydrogen sulfide. You know, there's another name for it. It's mostly misspelled on the public restroom walls. That's what the hell they're talking about. Now, can you imagine giving somebody a $500 fine for that? I mean, there's other ones on here. It goes down here, and most of these laws are redundant. Discharging firearms off a county roadway, that's been a county and a state law before I was born. We do not need an ordinance, you know, going for that. If you look on Title III General Offenses on Chapter 30, if you go down to 30.02 on littering, we have a complete and thorough ordinance already set forth on disposal of litter. We have a fine connected to it. We have the police department has agreed to uphold that law. Now that's the kind of ordinance that we have set forth to fit our city. This is baggage.
Mike, let me interject a moment. When we first began doing all this, of course you weren't part of the body here now. When we first started doing this, we accepted Steve's volunteering of bringing about some guidelines for us to begin to build off of. That's what Steve's done here. He went out and plagiarized, not Pflugerville, was it Pflugerville?
Pflugerville.
Pflugerville's ordinances, and I have a brother that lives there, but their ordinances to give us a go-by to bring some order to some of the issues that these are addressing. This was not to be what we're going to vote on like now. The mayor, now we've tried to have some meetings in the past that we didn't have a quorum for. The mayor has challenged us recently in the last meeting that we need to finally get something resolved in this matter. So in his effort to give us some sense of urgency, he's asked us to address this prior to the next meeting, or we're going to be voting on this language. Now that's his method of getting us to get moving on this. But the past is past. We cannot go back and make up for the days that we didn't have a quorum. We put you in place here to resolve that problem. Now we have a quorum that we may can rely on, I hope, that we may finally address these issues so that we can meet the timetable that the mayor's put us under. So when we're here tonight, and we just put a 2-hour limitation on this, we're going to be striking language. We're going to address it to fulfill the needs of our local need, of our city here. But we're just looking at this as a, by the way, this possibility. There are human beings there too. They
John,
have same.
have you read this?
I have. It's very onerous. It's very aggressive. But
This is not a template for Coffee City.
Well, it is.
No part of it.
Well, basically, yes. You're still using the English language. You're not speaking Yiddish. And what we're trying to do is try to go from this point to develop a sense of order within our body of our city. Now, Steve was just basically plagiarizing.
I'm ignorant. What is Yiddish?
Yiddish is used to make a statement to someone who's trying to be insulting someone who's trying to help our city. But back to you. We're just trying to develop a method in order to bring some order to the chaos that exists, Mike. That's all we're trying to do. So we're not going to, but you still have the word unlawful used in English in Coffee City. That same word's used in Pflugerville.
And the same
So
word
what
is
I'm-
used in our ordinance that was fitted for our city when we made the ordinance surrounding the trash.
That is correct, but there's other things besides trash being addressed in these ordinances. And now the ordinance for trash, we've already resolved.
I know.
But
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
could we, I see your view and I see your view. Could we look at maybe Athens, or Frankston's, get a copy of each one of theirs? I mean, it's public record, right? Bullard, look at all three of theirs, they're smaller towns.
But Lee, let me
See if
say,
they're-
and that's
I
a
can
good
understand, some of this
point.
language could be used, don't get me wrong, but some of it goes, you know, I agree with you on the firing. I don't want to, you know, shoot a stray dog or something in my yard and, you know, get a $500 fine or $1,000 or whatever, because my next door neighbor is less than 1,000
Well,
feet.
according to this, you can't even shoot a gun.
Well, I know
You
that.
can't
And
shoot
see, and I
fireworks.
don't agree with that.
So I'm saying this is not fitted for us.
But-
This is the ordinances
I
that were
understand that, but-
compiled over many years
Do
for a
you understand
larger city.
what I'm asking though?
Yes.
I'm asking us to look at towns around us that has a similar population versus, I don't know what population Pflugerville is, but I'm sure it's more than 2,000 or 3,000.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty big.
But what I'm saying is, get towns that are around us and look at their ordinances and maybe take bits and pieces of the 3 or 4 that we've got at hand to give us, you know, that we can piece together an outline that works for Coffee City. Because we can't just pull stuff out of the air and say, we need to add this and add this.
Right, I'm getting the idea that we feel compelled to adopt bits and pieces of ordinance throughout the countryside, when
I
we
didn't say
don't have to,
countryside,
because.
our local area.
I know, it's the same difference, Lee. What I'm saying is, we don't need to draft a multiple ordinance document for this city. We don't need it. If something comes up, like if something comes up to where there's a necessity to create an ordinance, that's our business to create that ordinance.
It may be too late to try to create an ordinance to cover something that's already happened. This, we're not looking at like
How
just
bad could it be,
That is why
discharging a
ordinances-
firearm?
ordinances, ordinances
stray
are
dog?
put into effect. Some of these are gonna be put into effect before they may actually be needed to cover us if something were to happen tomorrow or next month or 6 months
Which
from now.
one? Give me a for instance, which one would you like to?
Fireworks. You
You
mentioned
would-
fireworks and
You would like to do away with
I
fireworks?
did not say that.
Well, that's what this provision in is here.
But I didn't say,
Mike, for instance, let's imagine we had a hospital built.
Mhm.
You don't want fireworks going off next to a patient's room.
Right, but John,
But what we're trying to
Isn't
get
that
to
a
a
bit
point,
hypothetical?
I
But once a
know,
hospital is built, then perhaps we can look at an ordinance for fireworks. The thing, I think, one of the things that Mike is saying that I agree with is when a need arises, then let's form an ordinance. I mean, if you wanna, we can pass all these and then by gosh, by golly, if we get a sidewalk, then we'll be prepared for it. But until we get a sidewalk, let's only have ordinances that we need. Let's don't cover every single circumstance
Well,
that's ever
but-
gonna come up,
Like-
because we can't do that.
one of the things I saw in the pet ordinance that I liked was if a policeman pulls up at one of the dollar stores or one of the beer stores and somebody's got their car in there and they're inside shopping for an hour or two and it's 100 degrees outside, he's got the ability to give them a ticket.
for what?
We're doing what?
for trapping an animal inside of a hot car.
That's already
I guess y'all didn't
covered
read
in
the
county and
ordinance,
state law. That's already covered.
Yeah, I did read the
That's in the
ordinances.
11
I did
pages.
read through them, I highlighted
That's in the
questions.
first
and
11
I
stuff.
mean, I looked at me like I didn't know what I was saying.
No, you're
It's
right.
in there.
It's on Title V.
About tethering
Under
the
animals.
animals and.
Right.
Yeah, but see, that's already, these are redundant ordinances because the state and the county has those. And we can have a police officer to arrest people for that type of violation already.
And who's gonna get the money off that violation?
We will, because we can bring it to this court if we have to. Now, that's what I was saying a while ago. In Briarwood Bay, you probably got loose dogs, and there's loose dogs down here.
Dogs everywhere.
We got a question resolved.
I would love to have an ordinance on, you know, animals like that are in a small area that are apt to bite somebody, but it almost looks like just like our litter ordinance, it looks like this ordinance should be designed around the area. Like if you're over in Briarwood Bay, you got 50-foot lots, and if everybody had big old dogs that are unfenced, I could see where that could be a problem, and I would listen to anybody over there that would try to say, you need a fence or you need a leash law here.
Let's let him resolve a concept was just brought
The
forward.
judge put out, it was 2 or 3 meetings ago, and it's not a city ordinance or a city law, it goes to the county or to the state. If it's a county ordinance you're enforcing, it goes to the county court, they get the money.
Do we want to prosecute?
I don't care, that's up to y'all.
But what I'm
just telling
saying
you,
is.
if it's not our law, we don't.
But do we want to prosecute things that are so extenuating that it might be every 4 years that somebody left a dog in the car?
I understand, I don't care about that, that's up to y'all.
You see what I'm saying?
But it's not a city
if
law.
we had a big metroplex here or something, and we had constant violations, yes, let's get an ordinance.
Mike, there's one concept that you're overlooking, and I think Ms. Strauss is also overlooking. But I just want to go over this concept. The concept is a grandfathering. If you don't pre-prepare for the problem can exist, and then you address it, that problem stays. So if you want a strip bar with people standing outside flaunting themselves in front of everybody driving by, if you're not prepared for that already and they start it, then you say, well, we need to address that.
John, that just happened, and it was just shot down by county law.
Okay, but I'm just using that as a specific example. You've got grandfathering clause issues that you have to address. So if you don't prepare yourself to stop it before it happens, what happens stays. Now remember that. So we have to concern ourselves with the idea, what if?
But you're acting, John, like it's a nuclear bomb blast.
No,
where we will have no
I'm
recourse.
not. I think
if somebody commits an offense with their dog, let's address that issue. If there's more than one complaint with a dog biting somebody, then let's establish an ordinance.
Well, all I can say is that is an existing concept that we have to honor.
John?
It's the
can I
grandfather's
interject
clause.
something? Do you mind if I interject something?
Please, sir.
I was at the meeting that this city council was considering a animal ordinance, and the city council turned it down. And then they asked Mr. Gullickson if he would do a nuisance law to cover animals. And that's the last that was said about it until you got a stack of ordinances in here. Now, the way I would address these issues, if I was part of it, I would take these one issue at a time and not try to do a whole stack of ordinances at once, because it's just going to be too complicated.
That's what I said. You mean we're agreeing on that, Ray?
Well, I mean, I agree we have to start somewhere like.
Well, let's stop.
But we need to start with some.
Let's stop and get the answer out of here. I interrupted Chris. Chris, you was going to comment on something we made.
No, I wasn't trying to comment like alderman, I'm just trying to remind y'all, the judge said if it's not our ordinance, it'll go to the county.
But how did we shut down the
Because that annexation wasn't
Actually,
in, and they were still part of the county. They were part of the county, and our
That was
ordinance
one of
was in
Robert
place.
Day already.
It was too close to a residential area, Mike.
Well, not only that, with the beer store across the street too, wasn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, we can establish an ordinance around particular things like that we think will come up, but I don't think that we're gonna need this phone book here to govern our city.
Well, let me ask you this, would y'all be more open to the idea if we've got one from Athens or
I think it'd be an
or
excellent idea.
Franklin? And I agree with you, we need to tell it to our city because this is quite.
We can
quite a
pick
range.
out of there the wording and what we like
And I don't
about
have a
it.
problem with that at all.
I agree, I think that's an
I don't have a
excellent
problem with that at
idea.
all.
But to take this and stuff this down the citizens'
Yeah.
throat, you're gonna have a
I
bunch of
can't take
people
that
mad at you.
for-
Mike, it was
verbatim
never
as it
designed
is.
to be that way. Let's make something
Why was this
constructive.
handed to us?
Because it was just to be the Bible for us to understand something
Well, we
about
have to
other
get started
people.
somewhere.
That's
But
right.
I agree with you that if we selected the complete ordinances from several towns, our size, maybe even 50,000 people larger, and then we hunt and peck through there and found wording.
I wouldn't
and
go
something-
50,000, because 50,000, you're probably gonna fall in the Pflugerville population, you're gonna
Yeah.
get this right here.
Well, let's do.
Well, there's about 2 in here that I like.
Mike, let's do something constructive here. Let's just address, if y'all want to take this slow and easy, 1 or 2 a month or something of that nature, let's do this. Let's just make a list of what ordinances would we like to see happen in our city. Just general description, a dog ordinance, a pet ordinance, whatever you want to call it. Let's just make a list and take that list, and we all on our own account go out and develop whatever information you want to offer back to this body. And from that point, design our own ordinance if we agree that that's something that needs to be addressed. Would y'all like to look at it from that standpoint?
Sure, and let me ask this question before I forget it, because y'all probably know this, I do not, and it just keeps rolling around in my head. Coffee City is a rural area, just about everything out here. other than a few modern subdivisions around here, small ones. And like I say, it's an open type city. There's no confinement. Now, when we annexed Briarwood Bay, that bay offered an entire set of circumstances by itself, such as how tightly fit and how tightly knitted the area is. And I thought to myself, well, maybe we could have an ordinance to where if you had a 50-foot yard and your fence was the border between that and the neighbor, and there was no fence, or there wasn't no fence in the front, and a person could be attacked by an animal, could we make a specific ruling in an ordinance governing Briarwood Bay, which is totally different from the rest of the city? And then I thought to myself, well, that would probably not stand up in court. Well, if that won't stand up in court, then there's no way that you could get the residents of Briarwood Bay to continue collecting the homeowners association dues and do it and not being able to force that on them. Then they would not be able to complete their roads, which they're doing one hell of a job over there of completing their roads. Our city does not have the funding to redo the roads in Briarwood Bay. They have the means now and have had for some while. Now, you understand this is a law that they're allowed by their bylaws and restrictions that they are allowed to collect homeowners' dues to repair their roads. And I don't know if you've been over there, but they got some good work going on, and I like that. I'm just saying, and the question here is, can we inflict a pointed ordinance to Briarwood Bay residents because of their confined residents?
No,
like
this has got to
50-foot
be a
lots.
citywide
Well,
ordinance.
see, that's what's going to cause the problem, because if you pass an ordinance to confine dogs, the guy over here on the 58 acres, if he wants to let old Blue out on the yard, he can get a ticket for that.
But you gotta understand, none of us are gonna agree on that.
That's going to be
It
a
doesn't matter
real
whether-
touchy situation.
The only thing, I would like to take, some bits and pieces of the pet ordinance that's on here, the one about leaving a pet in a car on a hot day, and there's some other little small things in there. I would like to see, there may be some others that we might could put in. I'd like to see there's one there talking about your
I agree with
fence
that.
ordinance. If you're gonna put up a fence, like you need to maintain it. And there's stuff in this ordinance, talking about it can't go more than 2 foot over the property line or 2 foot off of center. Can't block a view if it's on the road. I can see that kind of thing. So I'm for some of those little small things, but not in the extenuating circumstances this may.
Also, an ordinance for the city gives the authority to our police force.
Well, that's
Our
another
police
question.
force does not have authority for certain issues that they cannot address because they are other laws.
Yeah.
Even though it may be a blanketing over to us, we don't have time to call a Texas Ranger to come in here to take care of a problem. We have our own city enforcement people, so we got to create ordinances for them to use against whatever problems we may see that we need to develop. But I think we're getting a little bit carried away in our overview here. All we need to do is make a list of everything we want addressed in our city that we feel like an ordinance is necessary for.